your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
To you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Agree to Disagree. My name's Brian Engelman and this is the TNAM radio network here at thenewamericanmedia.com. Seeking truth, challenging dogma, having fun. And we fully expect to do all of those three things with our special guest today, Mr. John B. Wells. Caravan to Midnight. I want to make sure you folks who are tuning in, I don't know, maybe this is the first episode you've heard of our show in the past 4.5 years, coming up on 5 years that we've been active here. But we got an archive of stuff, a lot of great content from this week alone. I mean, we could go back, I don't know, maybe a week and a half. Some of the people we've had on, shows that you can catch. Yeah, we had Ford Fisher with news to share. We were covering Baltimore in the Democratic and Republican debates. We had Gerald Celente on last week. We had Adam Kokesh on. We had Blake the Eccentric Wally. We had Laura Eisenhower. We had Larry Elder. It's been a very interesting couple of weeks here. A lot of great guests, a lot of great shows. A few ways to check that out. YouTube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Click subscribe. Let the ads play. It's like throwing a penny or two into our wishing well. That's always appreciated. But leave your comments. Listen to a show that was from a couple days ago or a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago or a couple years ago. It doesn't matter. They're all good chats. And join the conversation. We appreciate all the people that jump in and out with their comments, their commentary, their questions. And, you know, it can be a two-way conversation if you handle yourself appropriately. And that's what we encourage here. Because the new American media exists because the old American media has failed us. I mean, if we wanted to believe the BS, if we wanted to just take the propaganda, you know, here's your pill, here's your propaganda pill, take your pill. There wouldn't be a need for the new American media. But the new American media is, what is the story that's local to you? Do you live near Oregon? Are you up there near Burns, Oregon, where you could roll up and get a feel for that situation on the ground? Can you go to Bundy Ranch? Can you go to a local convention? Can you go to Ferguson? Can you go to Baltimore? Can you go to, you know, pick a place where something's happening? Porter Ranch out here in Los Angeles where there's a natural gas leak. You know, the new American media is wherever you are. You know, do a report. Get your stuff together. Come on. Let's do some shows. Let's talk about it. Cover it. You know, because so many things are covered up these days. I mean, nobody better than our guest today could tell you about the cover-ups and conspiracies. The voice of Unsealed Alien Files. And the former host of Coast to Coast, current host of Caravan to Midnight. I do a horrible John B. Wells impression. I gotta just stop it. But anyway, you know, we all know. If you're finding us, and we're talking to some similar guests and people that you find to be intelligent folks as well, we get it. You know, we're being lied to. They're straight up lying to us. So it's up to us to seek out the truth, to challenge the dogma of accepted wisdom, and try to have fun doing it. So subscribe, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Connect with us on Twitter. We're at American_media_. The place we broadcast this show live. Not sure if you're going to find it after the fact on Twitter or on Facebook or on YouTube or where have you. What have you, where are you? You can check this all out at thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side is the TNAM radio button. That's where you click play and you can listen live. When we do a show live, you click play on thenewamericanmedia.com on the right-hand side. It's an American flag symbol. Click it, listen live. Underneath that is our Facebook feed, or you could do a search for The New American Media. But hey, we're just saying connect with us. We also have a Periscope. We're going to be covering a few conventions and doing some stuff soon. Well, what else? You know, all that jazz. Instagram. Yeah, we're building. I swear, every time you start working on a platform, it's time to go to a new platform and build that one up. So, you know, you chase your tail a little bit, but que sera, sera. So, without further delay, let's bring in Mr. John B. Wells to the program. I forget the last time we talked. I try to do this every few months. And yes, this is my favorite part of the show, making the call. I'm sure it's yours. It is quite riveting.
Hello.
Hello, John. It's Brian, and you are live on Agree to Disagree. How you doing today, sir?
No kidding, live already, huh? Wow, man, you don't waste time.
Hey, it's the internet age. We got stuff to do. I'm multitasking. Happy New
Increase
Year.
that productivity, man.
I know. Well, honestly, what did I tell you? We talked off air about how the New Year's treating us, and I said we've turned ours up to 11. We are ramping up everything that we are doing right now. It's all been turned up to 11.
I think given the state of things, we probably better do that just to keep up with it.
I'm telling you, you feel the quickening. You feel that our country is sliding off the edge of a cliff, and we barely have any time left to save it. You feel it.
Well, why not just come out of the chute with this one? I think that the communist agenda that was put into place just prior to the Kennedy assassination is being revealed to be a real thing, and it wasn't some snipe hunt after all. It's a real thing from the adaptation of the more like the adoption of the communist indoctrination techniques that are being clearly rolled out in our public schools, certainly, to property rights going away and politically correct speech. I guess you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know if you know. I'm not sure I've introduced you yet, but my uncle, he's a Baptist preacher down there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he wrote a book on the Kennedy assassination. I need to connect you guys.
Yes, you should.
I think you'd have a heck of a conversation. All right, then remind me to do that off air. But yeah, so you're feeling that what got started in the 60s is kind of continuing now, and it might be the communist. And look, we've normalized relations with Cuba, so go figure. We're buddies with Iran and Cuba now. Does that sound a little odd to you?
It's completely odd. And we're buddy-buddy with Iran, and we're going to send those mugs $150 billion, and they make a big PR deal out of it. I think that whole boat deal, I smell a setup, man, and I'll tell you why. Those two boats, those patrol boats, they're seaworthy, but they're not exactly ocean-going, and they're equipped. There are two of them. Why do you send two of them? Well, you send two of them in case one of them messes up, the other one can tow the other one in. They're each equipped with Rolls-Royce, turbojet, water jet engines. And wow, man, all of a sudden our GPS doesn't work, Really? No GPS, so it was a navigational error. The Navy doesn't make navigational errors.
In these
the United
two
States
small
Navy,
boats,
that's the last thing that's on their list of a problem is a navigational error.
And so it was two little boats. These were not aircraft carriers. These were little boats, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a PT boat from World War II on steroids,
Okay. And so two of them roll
Brits used
over.
to call them corvettes.
So they take the two Corvettes over, and these are not rickshaw, little floating debris fashioned together with some crude rope. These are legitimate, badass, tiny little boats. Two of them roll in there. For what purpose, though? This was on the night of the State of the Union.
I think somebody directed them there. I think this interdiction was done purposely. By the way, as long as I've used that word, could everybody stop using the word purposefully? They did this purposefully. It's like, you walk with a certain spirit in your gait because you're on a mission. So you are walking purposefully, as in full of purpose. But if you do something deliberately, you've done it purposely. Okay? So there. So anyway, I believe they were purposely set up.
I like it. Last time I was debating in my head there as you were explaining the difference whether I should bring up the word dude or not, because it has a tendency to, once somebody says it, it's a lot like a yawn. The next person might take it too. But yes, I like how you correct some of the human language, because it is important, the words that we're using, the things that... It's like the Overton window, John. If we only allow ourselves certain types of information, we're limiting our potential, and we might be using it incorrectly, so we should pay attention to it. So,
it's very interesting that you should say that. Another one that I don't like is thanks for the invite. Invite is a verb. Invitation is a noun. stop saying thanks for the invite, you morons. Okay, I'm done for the moment.
Now I'm just wondering how many times I'm going to misuse it, perhaps in this same broadcast. Who knows?
Man, I was talking to a fellow today on Caravan to Midnight about the church and how the church in the United States has effectively failed everybody, and by and large anyway. And I said, and these people that do it with style, you know, they you know, and I said, you know, stop doing that. Stop with the showman stuff. And by the time I'd done it enough times, I had him doing it, and he wasn't doing it before I gave him the example. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was worried about the whole time. But go ahead. We were talking about the Corvettes of the Sea.
Look, man, this doesn't look good to me. You know, all of a sudden Iran is buddy-buddy. Oh, buddy-buddy, they got their nuclear deal. Well, you know what they're going to do with that. Fact is they've been friends with the Russians for a long time, and they've probably had a nuclear device with a missile to launch it for years. But what we see is that, is Iran going to get a bomb? They've bloody well already got the bomb, okay? And do we think, since it's been 70 years as of last summer, since nuclear weapons were let off on a civilian population, do we think that there might have been some improvement in those weapons over time, over 70 years? Probably so. I'm thinking that they have a nuclear device the size of a pack of Marlboros, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you look at all this, when you look at Iran is demanding $50 billion for ticking us off, make it 150. Very good, thank you. Yes, we will accept it, with that finger stuck up in the air. And so we're going to give them $150 billion. They got their nuclear program. We send a couple of patrol boats over there so they can embarrass the hell out of the United States. And now this officer says, yes, they were cowards. They were cowering. They were afraid. We could see their fear. You know, this is just a PR piece for the scumbag in the Oval Office. That's all it is. This guy is going to do everything that he can over the course of this year to embarrass, mortify, if he can, like literally, if possible, this country. And I really hope that Chief Justice John Roberts reaches down into himself and finds out what he knew before to be the same today as it was then, and that is the reason that he became what he is today is because of his love of the law. And this president and his crew of criminals, and treasonous criminals, I might add. This is all my opinion, but it is my opinion, that this man needs to be impeached. He needs to be removed from office. He needs to be arrested. Now, they're already looking at him for this immigration thing after a judge down in Texas, I believe. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. Said, no, this is not constitutional, and we're not doing it, and we're blocking it. So he did. Now the Supreme Court's got to look at it.
Yeah, they're taking it up now.
He's supposed to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, and he didn't do that. There's probably a lot more in there, but if you go over to IntelliHub, this fellow named Shepard Ambellas, you know him.
Yeah.
He's got this deal that ever since, and I've been saying this for a long time, and it's not necessarily an original thought. It's based on, it's like the guy who invented the Jado bottle said, put two or three things to, when I asked him, how do you get a new idea, Ernie? And he said, just put two or three things together and you got a new idea. So I started putting two or three things together and came up with a big idea, and it has been repeated by several people. And we didn't have these conversations together, so they came to the same conclusions, and that is the John Kennedy assassination was orchestrated by CIA. Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA officer, period, end of story. So was David Ferry. So was Clay Shaw. All those guys were CIA, all of them. How'd this get started? CIA used to be known as OSS, Office of Strategic Services, run by Wild Bill Donovan back in World War II, or so they think. Yeah.
Right.
So, well, that was interesting. So Harry Truman signs it into existence in, 47? George H.W. Bush was probably, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but I believe he was CIA from the very beginning. Now, during World War II, there were some problems with Gestapo and fifth column types coming into the eastern ports.
And
specifically New York.
explain fifth column types.
Fifth column is operatives. They're not spies necessarily, but emphasis on the word necessarily. Some of them are, but they are people who operate for the Nazi fifth column. Were people inside this country that they weren't spies, but they were working in the Nazi interests. They were an invisible legion of soldiers, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And Gestapo was, of course, their secret police, and they were damn good at it, too. And we adopted almost all of their techniques. Stasi, too, that was East German secret police, when the wall went up, when the Russians rolled in from the east, and 8th Army and Montgomery rolled in from the west, and wound up splitting Germany down the middle. I mean, who ever heard of such a crazy thing? Now, let me just roll a whole bunch of this together.
Right.
Nobody wanted World War II. Hitler wanted Danzig back because that property had been taken away during the Treaty of Versailles, which was a royal screw-in for the Germans, totally uncalled for. Well, England declared war on Germany when the Panzers rolled into Poland in October of 1939. Why would England declare war on Germany? Because England and Poland had a mutual protection pact. Now, if they didn't see this way down the line, if they didn't see this on a really long timeline, why would England have a mutual protection pact with Poland if they didn't know that Joe Stalin and the communists were eventually going to be a problem? So, and look at all of the people inside MI5. Hollis, for example, the head of MI5 was the mole. That's the conclusion Peter Wright came to when he wrote Spycatcher back in the 90s. Got in a bunch of trouble for it. And there was Kim Philby and this guy named McLean and Sir Anthony Blunt. All these dudes were hardcore communists. Well, there are so many communist elements, and they go, what was his name? McCarthy, Joe McCarthy. Oh, he was just a drunk and a xenophobe and a phobe this and a phobe that. No, not really. That's how they spun the story, but he was none of those things. Actually, he managed to uncover many communist cells.
That's the revisionism going on, so that, hey, remember that crazy guy. Don't be like that crazy guy from 40 years ago. Don't be crazy. Nothing to worry about with all this mass migration and, like you said, the Marlboro Pack-sized nuclear bombs. Nothing to worry about, anybody, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, this probably sounds pretty complicated, but I can tie it all together into a nice package with little ribbons on it, and here it is. Going back to the Kennedy assassination, explain to me, please, somebody, how a United States Marine radar specialist defects to the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War and then comes back.
Ooh,
and now they got him. Now they got film of him down in New Orleans, right down the street from Office of Naval Intelligence, known as ONI. Oh, yeah, he's passing out fair play for Cuba leaflets. Really, the same Cuba that we had the missile crisis over, right? Okay. And we got him over there across the street registering to vote with the black folks. Okay, just happen to have, this guy is a real wild card, man. He's a Marine, he goes to Russia, he comes back, he brings a Russian wife with him, and they got him on film. Now, it's known that he saved John Kennedy's life in Chicago. And I mean, I can see it all now after being full immersion in this stuff now for some years. It's like, Lee, you did a great job. So we want you in Dallas because that's where the president's coming.
Well,
how exactly did they place Lee Oswald in a building that the parade route would take the president right past?
Well, explain to us Chicago before we connect the dots right there into Dealey Plaza.
You know what? I don't know a lot of detail about it. All I know is that there has been a very, very little spoken of event in which an assassination attempt was thwarted by Lee Harvey Oswald himself. And Judith Baker could probably sort you out on that.
Okay.
I am not able to give you the specifics of that deal, but Judith could do it. And all you got to do is call her and she'll come on your show.
Yeah, you know what? I'll put the star next to that one. But yeah, I wasn't aware of that story. So, I love the internet because you put a little breadcrumb out there and you ask everybody, all right, Now you do some research into this and report back. Leave some comments. This is an ongoing back and forth conversation, which is what I like about it. But anyway, we'll dig into Chicago later. But then, how does he end up right there at the Texas School Book Depository? How in the world does that happen?
Well, the same way that John Hinckley winds up taking a shot at Ronald Reagan, and John Hinckley's family were good friends with the Bushes.
Huh.
It's because it's all one big crime family, and they do, in fact, sacrifice their own children for the cabal. They do this. These people are very, very serious cats. And what I mean by this is they are not like you. They are not like me. They are not like the people who are listening to your show. These people are completely amoral. Completely amoral.
Sociopaths.
They do not care if somebody gets killed. They don't care how they get killed. They don't care how much the person suffers while being killed. They don't care about any of those things. And once you understand what you're dealing with, then you begin to see how so many things are possible that you did not think would be possible before. None of these things could be orchestrated by any kind of a sane person, but they could damned well be orchestrated by a psychopath with a lot of power and a lot of connections to other psychopaths who have positions of influence and power, and also a crew of psychopaths of their own. Each of them do.
So this is a serious deal we're talking about, kids. We're past fun and games and distractions at this point. I think we've kind of realized
the party is over, my brother. People had better wake up, or they're going to get steamrollered, and they really are. I mean, there's no money in it for me. There's no, hot dates or, a new set of tires in the garage, or, hey, magically a case of whiskey just appeared on my front porch. Oh, look at that. It's 50-year-old scotch. There's none of that. And even if there were, it wouldn't be any kind of a compensation for going out on the clothesline and saying things like this.
Well, you brought up John Roberts, and we didn't flesh that out, but I know you and I have talked about that in the past on our archived shows. But explain what you're hoping John Roberts what realization he finds and what you think might have happened to him over the tenure on the Supreme Court. Because if we're dealing with the people that either send you a horse's head or a 50-year-old scotch, we're talking about people that'll damn near do anything and only let certain people that are that blackmailable and controllable into power in the first place. Explain the John Roberts connection.
I think you just did explain it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, John. Talk to you later.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know. We don't know if there was a threat against him. We don't know if there was a threat against his family. There's no way of knowing if there was something in his past. See, all these people who are up in Congress, virtually all of them, the ones that we see, all of them have something in their past. It's either a sex scandal, it's a call girl deal, it's a call boy deal, it's a financial scandal, it's a criminal enterprise, it's a connection. I mean, just like this is a very mild example, very mild, pedestrian even. Ted Cruz's wife works for Goldman Sachs. How many people know that?
Oh yeah, it's one of the biggest things that I always mention as I consider who in the world, if anyone, can I support in this election. What is their downside? Always, you got to put out there. He's married to Goldman Sachs. Do you really think meet your new boss, same as the old boss? You don't think this connection is important? It's probably noteworthy, and we should maybe break it down and hash it out just a little bit before blindly going all in on Ted Cruz. Just saying.
The Cold War, in my opinion, there were a lot of people that got killed and tortured and exiled and rolled over and all of that stuff when that was happening, but largely it was a farce because the Russians and the United States have been doing business together for a long time. Just like that program that came on the History Channel about the SR-71 Blackbird, the spy plane. God just out of his mouth comes the following statement: We had to work with the Russians to get enough titanium to build a spy plane. Okay, gotcha. So the Russians helped you get the materials that you needed to build a spy plane so that you could go spy on them with it. And let's see what else. When all these sanctions came up against Russia, I thought, I wonder how that's going to affect the sales and purchases of the rocket engines that we buy from Russia to loft our military satellites into orbit. And then, sure as hell, it wasn't even 30 days later. It was 2 or 3 weeks later. I think it was about 3 weeks. here came a little thing that's like, well, yeah, but we're going to still do business with them on the rocket engines. So riddle me this. Why are we buying rocket engines from the Soviets to lift military satellites into space? It's because we've been doing business with them all the time.
War is good for business, don't you know?
Yep.
Kind of always has been in the highest inner circles of the biggest corporations with the biggest, baddest toys.
Yeah, we talked with a fellow named J.R. Nyquist, and Jeff Nyquist, and his website's J.R. Nyquist, Nyquist. And I was asking about this whole Syrian refugee nonsense, and he said, that's all orchestrated by Russia. And then I saw a letter that somebody sent me. I'll just say that, talking about how these people in Russia who are, like Putin and his crew. I mean, I liked Vlad up until I started really thinking about it. But I never discounted the fact that he's a very, very serious man who has his own national interest in mind, and screw everybody else.
Well, he's one of those guys a little bit like, I don't know, maybe, who knows, a tough, hard-nosed player on your team. Everybody that goes up against him hates him, but if they're on your team, like, you know that they're going to be hustling, that they're talented, and that they're probably going to do a really good job at their job, and you'd rather have him on your team than another team. Something like that?
Yeah, it would be good to be friends with him. Just keep in mind that he will never be your friend beyond the point that it serves him to be your friend. And that's okay, as long as you know what kind of a person you're dealing with. You know, okay, that's fine. This old axiom of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's like, no, that's not the way Putin thinks. Putin thinks they're both enemies. I'm just going to play one of them against the other, but I'm eventually going to have to destroy both of them. You know,
well, you bring up
Americans are stupid, Brian.
Oh yeah, we are. I know we are.
No, I mean, they're stupid because, and I say stupid because ignorance can be cured, but they don't want it cured. They like to stay in their comfort zone, and you know, I hate to tell them this, but you're not going to be able to stay in your comfort zone. You're going to have your ASS kicked out of your comfort zone.
Well, let me
by
ask
a great big nasty boot, and you're going to be forced to lick the sole of that boot on command. I mean, that's where we're headed if these people don't wake up. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I want to bookend a couple things here because as we're talking about this, there's a few more angles I want to push this. You're talking about how could somebody at the height of this, Cold War debacle, how could a Lee Harvey Oswald bounce back and forth between Russia to the U.S. and a CIA asset? Where do you think Edward Snowden fits in? We're at the height of this post-Cold War Minority Report era where everything's possibly terrorism. And you have Edward Snowden with access to our secrets on the inside, and then he gets booted, ends up in Russia, but now he's hailed as a good... What do you make of Snowden these days?
All right, I'll tell you what, before I get to that, let me wrap up on Kennedy. The whole deal is that the assassination of President Kennedy was the first real blow in a coup that took this government over and has been controlled by CIA ever since. Period.
A hostile takeover from within. And so the only people after Kennedy were puppets.
Pretty much. They were all pre-selected. Every one of them. According to Charlotte Iserbeet, the elder lady who was all into the Department of Education and everything that was going on within the educational system. That's her primary focus, and she was there during the Reagan years. She told me, she said, I hate to burst your bubble. I know you admired President Reagan. You said so, but he used to be known as Ronnie the Commie. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah. It was during his administration that the Soviet and American and Western European school systems were melded into one, particularly the American school system.
Through the Department of Education?
You bet.
See,
that's what Common Core is all about. Look, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
I thought No Child Left Behind meant we're going to make damn sure that every child is educated so that they can compete. Well, that's not what it means. What it means is we're going to graduate them whether they've learned anything or not. That's what it means.
See, I don't have
How many people out there you think know that?
Well, I'm trying to figure out, all I know is that they tried to teach me math a new way, and I looked at one of these. I don't know if you've seen this double plus one nonsense, John. I don't know. Maybe smart minds can actually handle this stuff. But I'm sitting here trying to understand the logic and thought process but behind changing mathematics. There was no need to change it. It worked just fine before. And then did you see these James O'Keefe undercover videos about the booksellers saying they hate children and it's all just a scam to make money?
Yep, sure did.
Incredible stuff. It's just astonishing, but I don't have kids, so when it comes to really paying attention to what's being put in the curriculum, yes, I know that like maybe every 10 years places like Texas will have, the states will come together and decide what the curriculum is. I understand some of the basics, but when it comes to Common Core, I don't know all that much about it. But you're saying it was part of a melding of Russian and American. What would you say? Teaching styles or methodology? What was the purpose of melding?
It's Marxist indoctrination.
Okay.
And that's what you're seeing now, where you don't have freedom of speech now. You don't have freedom of the press now. You really don't. I mean, look, this is really ramping up into something very, very serious now, because all of these ridiculous dreams that these losers have had are now coming to fruition. They really are. I mean, just like from Technocracy, this is Patrick Wood's outfit. Patrick Wood is a genius, and this was written by Pamela Geller, and it's just and this is from October 5 of 2015. But on Wednesday, Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced at the United Nations that her office would be working in several American cities to form what she called the Strong Cities Network, a law enforcement initiative that would encompass the globe. This amounts to nothing less than the overriding of American laws up to and including the United States Constitution in favor of United Nations laws that would henceforth be implemented in the United States itself without any consultation of Congress at all. The UN wants to run this whole thing. That's why nothing changes. That's why we're going, what the hell's going on, Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, nothing seems to get done. That's because they are one. It's because the security services select who's going to be president. It's how Barack Obama was able to steal the 2012 election, and he did. What are the chances that you get 0 votes in I don't know how many precincts just around Philadelphia? Not 1 vote for Romney. And you know why they didn't want Romney to be president? Not because he's not a good businessman. It's because he is a good businessman, but he's also never cheated on his wife. Now, people can say, the Mormons are a bunch of freaks and it's a cult and all this. Yeah, well, they're extraordinarily moral people, too. They are.
But I thought they only put 2 people up there that are already pre-selected. So if you pick
Coke
or Pepsi,
you got to have a horse race.
Right.
But it was already decided. It didn't make any difference.
Well, when they say like Obama, McCain, okay, they're clearly on the same team there. With Romney, you could at least say, well, you're getting Romney Care or Obamacare, but you're getting this health care thing. And I guess
no matter what happened, he was not going to win. John McCain was not going to win that election. He didn't even try.
He
went through that whole big speech, and the last thing he says is, fight with me to save our beautiful America. That was the only inspiring thing he said. The rest of it was as limp as a noodle in some chicken noodle soup. And by the way, after that gay commercial, I'll never buy Campbell's ever again.
That one bothered you that much?
I thought it was an insult. I thought the gay rainbow colors at the White House were an insult. I think gay joke and an insult. And it's also a lie. It's a political agenda. It's got nothing to do with Adam and Steve wanting to be able to pull the plug on each other if they're in some sort of a catastrophic health situation, or to be able to dispose of each other's property. That's BS. All you need is a form you can print off from the Internet at the Internet Cafe. It's called a power of attorney. That's all you need. You don't need a marriage ritual in a church. It's a slap in the face to Christianity. It's a slap in the face to American values. It's perverse. It sucks, and I'm against it, and I don't much give a damn who knows it. How about that?
What do you really think, though? I can tell you're kind of gauging and measuring your words carefully.
Look, man, I've had gay friends off and on. I was a theater major. 90% of the dudes in there were gay. I didn't sleep with any of them. I didn't embrace any of their stuff. I don't embrace that lifestyle. And you talk to these people and you ask them, were you born this way or what? And they'll go, no, man, it was this or that. They got all kinds of stories that'll tell you. There are some people that, the DNA, the genes got a little bit screwed up. They kind of got stuck between boy and girl. I get all of that. There are exceptions to everything, but I'm not talking about gayness for gayness' sake. I'm talking about the political agenda behind it and how it's been weaponized, how gayness has been weaponized. I know I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because they got a kid that's gay. I mean, one of my best friends, his middle son's as gay as can be. Well, I didn't reject the family and reject the child or any of that. He's a nice kid. And his father told him, look, if you have these feelings and you can't help it, then just understand that you're my son and I love you just as much as if you were all about girls. So this is not like, oh, let's start throwing them off of rooftops or any of that. That's not what this is. It's the weaponizing of it. People struggle with different things. Some people are addicted to heterosexual porn. Look at Bill Clinton. That's not even his daughter. Chelsea Clinton's not his daughter. Not at all. That's widely known. So I'm sure you saw the movie The Departed.
Oh yeah, I love the opening line to that movie. I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Yeah, well, here's the other part. You remember at the end when he says, is that what all the sex is about? No kids, but all kinds of sex. Is that what it is? Maybe that's what turned Bill Clinton into such a voracious predator of the sexual variety, because he doesn't have any children. Maybe that's what turned him.
Well, see,
maybe it screwed up his head permanently.
I don't know
Who knows?
I don't know the Hillary or the Chelsea story. What's that about?
That's pretty much it.
Well, I haven't heard that one before. I haven't really run across that one. I've been digging into. We had talk show host Larry Elder on a couple days ago, and we had Laura Eisenhower on, and they were both of them independently of knowing that the other was talking about it several days apart, but really digging into the sexual predator history of Bill Clinton and what Hillary did to threaten, intimidate, and silence the accusers, basically being a pit bull for Bill Clinton. And then, talking about some of the other stuff that Hillary's been accused of, real crazy, horrendous, like you said, cabal, it doesn't matter, we're sacrificing things, kind of next level evil stuff.
Well, do you put any stock into what Jerome Corsi says?
I have heard the man speak a lot of truth in my lifetime.
Well, here's one. Webb Hubble, no comment on fathering Chelsea Clinton. This is from WND. New York, is Chelsea Clinton not the daughter of Bill Clinton? There's been a rumor swirling in the dark underworld of Clinton family speculation for years. But a new book by Roger Stone and Robert Morrow, The Clintons, War on Women, takes the story to a new level, naming the actual biological father as Webb Hubble, Hillary Clinton's partner at the Little Rock Rose law firm and later Associate Attorney General of the U.S. in the Clinton administration. There you go.
Wow.
And all you have to do is look at a picture of Webb Hubble and look at a picture of Chelsea Clinton, and she looks like a younger version of Webb Hubble, only with long hair and in drag. Okay.
The other story I've heard, and I'm trying to look around on, about Yoko Ono. Did you hear that one?
No.
Yeah.
After I heard her sing, I quit paying attention.
Hey, we who among us have not either been in a band or had close friends in a band where the girlfriend of somebody got involved and was called Yoko Ono as she broke the band apart? I will raise my hand, and I've known of situations. So yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Her situation lives on, but no, so if this is a Marxist infiltration here, John, to kind of push a whole bunch of values. You said the weaponization of gay marriage. I mean, if someone can't even say, "Man, I'm a Christian. I'm not going to bake you a cake." Like, my church tells me I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not comfortable baking you a cake.
It's like I'll bake you a cake, but not for a wedding. Okay.
Yeah. It's forcing other people to do the things that you want them to do is the opposite of liberty. And it's like you said, these things are becoming weaponized. And if they're pushing Marxism and this type of agenda, what is the CIA's interest in pushing Marxism? What is their fascination with it? Why?
It's all about expanding markets, man. People talk about, oh, it's the 1%, the 1%. We're jealous of their stuff, their lifestyles. Like, their stuff and their lifestyle is just a snowflake at the tip of the iceberg. It's the power over human beings that they want. Once you've had your shag on the roof and your drink and your spleef and everything else, then what do you want to do? You want to have a shag and a drink and a spliff on the roof of that building over there. That's a little bit taller. You know, drink, want more drink. Drug, want more drug. Power, want more power. Abuse, want more abuse. That is, dishing it out, not taking it. That's how these people are. Look, they're sick. This is not that hard. It's like my father said a long time ago. When you don't have Jesus, any place in the world you don't have Jesus, you got trouble. Well, take a look. Oh, well, John Calvin and the Crusades and all that. It's like, shut the bleep up and go read some history that hadn't been redacted by some Marxist somewhere. If you want a new idea, go find yourself a really old book and find out what you're talking about. Because I'm not talking to you, Brian. I'm talking to people who make these ridiculous challenges.
No, it's all right.
Because, buddy, they don't know what they're talking about. They just don't. And the more you show them that they don't know what they're talking about, the more tightly they cling to their opinion. Well, that's her opinion, or that's his opinion. It's like, well, the opinion sucks because it's based in nothing factual. It's just an opinion, as if to have an opinion somehow endows somebody with a brain cell or two. It doesn't.
Yeah, they say they're like, an opinion's like an asshole. Everybody has one, and they usually stink.
Yeah, well, as long as we're going to descend into that realm of sophomoric stuff. Did you see this thing that went around? It was a communication between President Truman and General MacArthur about the signing of the surrender of the Japanese. And so MacArthur sends this is alleged to be a true story, and I believe that it is. MacArthur sends a wire that says, Mr. President, we're about to sign the surrender documents with these yellow-bellied bastards. Is there anything you want me to do before we go ahead and execute this? And he said, congratulations, job well done. He goes, you might want to tone down your obvious dislike for the Japanese people. It might be perceived as politically incorrect. And so MacArthur fires one back and says, Mr. President, Chester and I are a little confused. That's Chester Nimitz, the admiral. So we're a little confused. What exactly does political correctness mean? And President Truman said, political correctness is a belief held by a small moronic minority that it's possible to pick up a piece of S by the clean end.
To pick it up by the clean end. There's no such thing. Uh-huh. And you get that tiny minority of people, a small group of really loud, really angry people.
That's it. And look when I know Mark Dice goes up there and he puts people on, but look at, even if he was setting them all up, look how many morons sign up for the Holocaust beach party, or they sign up for the infanticide program where the parents can relieve themselves of the burden of the child by infanticiding the child up to age 3. And these dumbasses are all just signing up for it,
And there was one where they gave out all their information, like their social security numbers.
and a signature and a birthday, and they give it to him.
It's incredible. Yeah, Dice does some crazy stuff. I was just watching, we had Adam Kokesh on a couple of days ago, and I was watching him do one where he interviewed people outside of the Sniper movie, and talking about Chris Kyle, and he was just asking the moviegoers the difference about, so defending your homeland makes you a hero. Yes. And he goes, so the insurgents and blah, 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 and he just, in 2 sentences, he flipped it around to say, so you're calling the Iraqis that picked up guns to defend their homes and their country from the invaders, you're calling them heroes. And they go, well, I didn't think about it from that perspective. And these guys that get out there and do the man on the street and either get you thinking, laughing, cringing, or all of the above, I think it's really good to get a microcosm, a little snapshot of what America is in 2016.
Well, I'll probably get a lot of flack, and you will too as a result of my saying this, but I don't consider standing off at, a range of a mile and popping somebody in the head to be an act of heroism. I consider what Audie Murphy did, the old cowboy actor. You remember Audie Murphy. It's before both of our times, but he was very popular in Hollywood. This guy grabbed a .50 caliber machine gun, and stormed a pillbox or something. And he was a little guy, like, 5'4", 5'6", something. This guy grabs a machine gun at great risk to his own life and just storms the hell out of these enemy positions and just starts hosing them with slugs. That's heroism. Standing off a mile and popping somebody with a sniper rifle is not heroism. Sorry, I don't buy it. That's just me. Well, I'm for the troops and by the troops, and I believe in the troops. I love the troops, and thank you for your service. Thank you for what service? Going over there volunteering to join a mercenary army and go be sent by some guy you don't know to kill some other people you don't know so that the bankers make money and their positions are protected? I'm supposed to thank them for that? I don't.
And if you haven't had Kokesh on in a while, you need to book him again. Because you guys have he was over, he served, and he has the same reaction as soon as someone says thank you for your service. It actually got me thinking to stop saying it, and I have. But yeah, what does he say? He says joining the military is either, I don't want to misquote him, but I'll get it as close as I can. It's either an act of ignorance, cowardice, or something, but basically it's usually just ignorance. He signed up wanting to be patriotic and defend his country after 9/11. He got there, gained knowledge, and said, my God, I don't want to be anywhere near this. You know, he was ignorant to the fact of what the military actually was being used as.
Yeah, I could say thank you for wanting to serve your country, but
Yes.
You're not. Now get out as soon as you can.
Yeah, you guys need to have a chat. I know he's been on your show before. We've run into him a few times, but it's the truth. The intent behind the action, that's commendable up until a point. You know, and there's a lot of people that get into politics, like a John Roberts or like some of these presidential candidates, that, you know, maybe their heart started in the right place, and it makes me wonder, as we talk about this, John, when we consider who are the puppet masters, who are controlling the strings here. What is going on in both of these parties, the Republican, the Democrat? It seemed like Hillary was supposed to be a shoo-in, but for the second cycle through, Obama being, 2 terms, she's not really able to put distance between herself and the second-place person, and Bernie Sanders is surging past her in certain states right now. Obviously, Hillary is the people's choice, but then again, the other guy's a socialist. What are we supposed to make of the Democratic side?
They're in the dumper. They're in the toilet. They're over with. They're done. You know, Hillary Clinton, in my opinion, is a criminal, and Bernie Sanders is a burnt-out geriatric hippie and an idiot, a socialist. Free kittens, free love, free college, $15 an hour jobs, to put a hamburger in a bag. Yeah, it's all going to be great. He's just another socialist who doesn't understand that, like Margaret Thatcher said, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money.
One of my
and
favorite
these dumbasses
quotes.
just keep hitting it. Look, we've all seen this thing. When you ask what's going on, here's the thing. What rock star, what athlete, what person in the public eye wants to have somebody walk up to him and go, it's been a brilliant career, man. Absolutely brilliant career. It's now over with. That car will take you to the airport. Bye. Just like Pete Best. There's a picture of Pete Best, the original drummer of the Beatles. And when Ringo got sick during an Australian tour, they called Pete Best to come play drums. And there was a picture of him sitting by himself at the airport going home after a 2-week run. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
A Taste of Honey,
it's kind of sad.
Sublime, Bradley Nowell wrote, a taste of honey is worse than none at all. And it's that moment you got to leave it.
But it's like, what about some soccer player, football, and oh man, women want to sleep with this guy, and they want to buy him drinks and get his autograph and all this until he hits about 35, 36, 37. Then they won't give him the time of day.
I always said that about bartenders. I was a bartender for a while, and it was the same thing. You would see the bartender that stayed a few years past when they should have left, and now they're golden handcuffs. They made good money and they partied and had a good time, but now they woke up a few years past their prime and they're stuck to being a bartender and they don't want to, and it's just, I don't know. It's a little more on the sad side, if you ask me.
To paraphrase Oliver Cromwell, pot belly and all. I think Oliver actually said warts and all, but maybe some of those too.
Well, I think you guys are going to end up with Johnny Manziel headed to Texas next year. That's just my personal opinion. You want to talk about a kid that loves the limelight so much. He's a kid that couldn't control it. Of course, he came from Texas A&M, and he might go back to Jerry and Jerry World with the Cowboys. We'll see. But yeah, fame and fortune, it really messes with people. And when you get a Clinton empire, when you get a Bush empire, I mean, watching Jeb Bush, do you get the same feeling I do that, like, Daddy and company are forcing him to do this and he doesn't really want to do it? Or is it just me?
I see spoiled little bastard all over him.
Spoiled. I see reluctant. I could understand spoiled.
Well, yeah, I mean, he just thinks he's entitled to be president. He's part of the dynasty. It's like, I could be doing cooler stuff than doing this. It's like, well, go do it.
What's he pulling at? 5-10%? I'm seeing something though that he's actually creeping up there behind Trump and Cruz. At least
Bro, let
according
me
to
tell
Reuters.
you something. If these people think that I'm going to spend the majority of this year grinding over this presidential election, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. Oh, by the way, speaking of dude, you mentioned a while ago.
Great. I told you it was going to come back up. That's why I hesitated to even go there. But yes.
Well, I think what most people mean by that is dandy. Because a dude, when they go, what are you doing here, you little dude? You know, that's not a good thing. No, it's like, hey, dude, oh, you know, that thing, that Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure thing, whatever.
Right.
And we'll get on to Sean Penn here in a second.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which is where we first saw Sean Penn, was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. A dude is a bump that appears usually on a horse's rump. It looks like a callus or a large wart. They're not gross. It's just a bump. That's a dude. Somebody who dresses in a little bit too flashy, maybe slightly effeminate clothing, that's a dandy. Somebody who does it tastefully is a Beau Brummel. Are we clear? Okay, good. We'll move on. Now, Sean Penn.
Yes, we're clear on Beau Brummel. I'll have to look down. I feel like you're harnessing your inner Dennis Miller right now. No, but so Sean Penn goes down and gets him El Chapo captured the third time somehow.
Yeah, like, okay, so how is it that Sean Penn, Hollywood actor, who wasn't he hooked up with Charlize Theron, you know, and she wants him to get rid of all his guns, so he does. In the meantime, she is adopting black children. Why is she doing that? Because being from South Africa, she might not have, and you know, they destroyed that country, that's another story altogether. Johannesburg, I've been to South Africa many times, and
wait, this is Charlize and not Angelina? I'm not up on my celebrity stuff.
I thought Charlize Theron was married to Sean Penn. But anyway.
No, I don't even know. I know the one adopting the black kids. That was Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, I think.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
You know.
I get confused with them all.
Well, the whole point is that Sean Penn is going to make an arrangement to meet with El Chapo to talk about, you know, what can we do about all this violence down on the border, right? Now, how exactly does actor Sean Penn wind up meeting with the baddest-ass drug lord in all of Mexico, who just recently escaped prison through an underground little trolley rail car that was the better part of a mile long? And a nice tunnel it was, but Sean Penn knows how to get in touch with this guy. Somebody will say, well, you know, they say he had a source. Yeah, really? And what source do we imagine that might be? How about CIA? You think it might be one of them, maybe? That's what I think.
So maybe it was a plot just to GPS track him, you know, it's like you follow the ants back to their anthill. You just give them enough time, put the bait out.
How does a Hollywood actor wind up having an interview with a Mexican drug lord who's just recently broke out of jail? How does that happen? The same way that you can't get a joint through the airport, but you can get 10 metric tons of heroin through the airport. It's called inside help. So who helped him? And then right after that, Mexico decides, hey, man, here we go. They start busting people and start raising hell, and the next thing on Drudge Report is Sean Penn a CIA agent? Look, it's all the way to stupid, man.
I looked up here.
It's not even crazy anymore. It's just stupid.
I looked up here, June 17th of 2015, sad news, Sean Penn and his fiancée Charlize Theron have called it quits after nearly a year and a half together, at least as of then. I didn't even know that they were a thing, so you one-upped to me again on that. So
well, let me tell you about South Africa. There's a white genocide going on down there, and that's absolutely true. And that's exactly what it is. And Johannesburg, been there many times. Durban, Cape Town, Stellenbosch, all over that place. Been up to Mozambique. I was there the very day that the 16-year war was, they call it quits. I've been up to Namibia. I've been up as far north as Angola. And
that had to be a trip.
Johannesburg now looks like Detroit on Halloween night every day.
And it didn't used to. It used to be a really nice place.
No. And as far as the white man came down here and threw out all the black people, wrong. There were no black people down there. They came there to get work. But unfortunately, countless millions of them were coming in there, and they went, wait. And they started enacting the identification laws, and I can't remember the passbook laws or whatever. I think it's passbook law and all that stuff. I've seen Soweto. Soweto stands for Southwest Township. It looks like Aspen, Colorado, compared to any urban slum occupied by black people in this country. They had tiny little houses. Their clothes were hung neatly on the lines. You didn't see white cops running around there beating people's heads in. That was orchestrated because they knew that they were a nuclear power. They did not want that. This is the plain, hard fact of the matter. There was an expression some time ago that people will say is really racist, and here it is. The only place that you're going to see organized black men is in a black cemetery. As long as the blacks control virtually all of sub-Saharan Africa, that means it can be wrested from whoever is controlling whatever piece of land is desired very easily. $80 billion we're going to send to fight AIDS. That was nothing but a payoff. There ain't no fighting AIDS over there.
It's all for the local.
It's just a sad fact of the matter. I had Pastor David Manning on the show, and I said to him, he's up in Harlem at the Atla Church, and he's always lecturing his congregation on how to straighten up. And he was all over the women up there going, what? He was saying, what in the hell is wrong with you? You let these men get you pregnant over and over again and then just run off? What is wrong with you? And when I talked to him, I said, Pastor Manning, I predict that either you and I will bond within the first 30 seconds or this conversation is going to go downhill rapidly. And he said, John, we have already bonded. I said, okay, let's get it on then. So we did. And one of the things he said was, John, there are 26,000 miles of coastline around Africa, and never has so much as one ship built by Africans sailed from there. Some civilizations just don't work. They just don't. Some inventions do not work. Some forms of government do not work. Sometimes you work a math problem and you get the answer wrong repeatedly. But it's all about what they have. Do we think that anybody would care what happened in South Africa if they didn't have diamonds, gold, ferrochrome, molybdenum, all of these strategic minerals and all that stuff? Do we think that anybody would care? No. Did they care when Rwanda got melted down? No. It's all about the money, man. It says in the Bible, money, the love of money is the root of all evil. And it is. It's not money, it's the love of money. How do all of these people in Congress, why is nobody asking a simple question? Where do these guys get all of the money that they have when they're in Congress? And the ones that have the most money are the ones you really can't get rid of.
Pelosi. I'm thinking of the West Coast people. You got the Pelosi's and...
Pelosi, Reid. How about Paul Ryan?
Feinstein. Oh, yeah.
These people got lots of money. How'd that happen? Where'd that money come from? If they're full-time Congress people, where'd they make all that money? Win the lotto?
Well, I got this phrase, I looked it up, attributed to Mr. Hank Gonzalez. The phrase is, a politician who is poor is a poor politician.
Look, all you have to do is just pay him, man. It's the Chicago way. You know, it's the New York way. You pay him. You pay him, you pay him, you pay him. Now they're in your pocket. That's all. You get favors. What the hell are lobbyists doing up there? We really need for you to pass this legislation. And if you do, there might be something in it for you. Really. Look at all that money they threw at Solyndra and countless others. They were complete failures.
Boondoggles. Total waste.
Yeah, well, somebody got the money.
Yeah, someone did. And somebody's going to get the presidency. You're not of the opinion that it's a possibility or likelihood that Barack Obama somehow stays on past the end of his second term, are you?
No, I'm not. It's not keeping me up at night, but I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, I've pondered it. I'm not thinking it's probable by any stretch, but somebody's going to get it. If it, provided he's gone, somebody is going to take the reins of this country. Is there anyone you even remotely trust for that position?
The only reason that I trust Trump is because he is so emotional that he's pretty easy to read. And I think his dad gave him a couple of $1 million and said, "Here, do something with it," and he did. He's worth what, 10 bills, something like this now.
Yeah.
He's worth more than one. Okay, so they can't really buy him. He's already had his own TV show. I mean, he's Donald Trump. I read his first book back in the 90s, Art of the Deal.
I just read
and
it earlier.
everything that he put in there was, I mean, I adopted some of those principles immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
Starting with any job that he needed done, he always hired so-and-so, the best such and such and thus and so in the business. He always hired the best people because you are only as good as the people around you. That's it. And I trust him because he's not part of the establishment. But that's only as far as I know. For all I know, which is not much, I repeat, he could be very much a part of the establishment, but it doesn't appear that he is now. And what seems to validate my opinion is that the establishment people were just like freaking out that he even had a chance to do this.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've pretty much painted into Donald Trump's portrait. The best thing he has going for him is that he doesn't need to rely on people to buy his votes. He doesn't need the huge corporate donors to say, "Hey, when you get there, just remember, we're going to recommend some legislation pass, and we hope you're going to see it our way." Absolutely. Trump doesn't give a damn about any of that. He's been so clever, he has hardly even he's hardly even needed to spend any of his personal money on top of it because he's so clever and so adept at going out and playing the media, getting all of the free information, the free stories. He puts one little internet commercial out there, everybody plays it for free. The whole election has been nothing about Donald Trump. It's nothing but Donald Trump all day, every day. There's been, like they said, no oxygen left in the room, and it's been brilliant. And I think he's a bit of a loose cannon. I think he's got a lot of potential downside. I still have a lot of question marks, but I kind of view him as possibly maybe the best option among the options that I've been able to view because that strength is such a strength. Throwing a monkey wrench into this system, just confusing it for a few years would be a benefit at this point, is to continue headed down the wrong road at an increasing speed. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Now, because it's you and me talking, I've departed from my usual lordly posture of kind of watching my language and just I like to keep it real with you. But at the same time, when I'm doing my own program, I like to keep in mind that I am a guest in someone's home, and Granny may be around, and she might not appreciate any off-color language.
Of course.
I still get pretty close to the line. But the reason I say this is because I was thinking of an expression that I wanted to use. Let's take Jesse Ventura, for example.
Yeah.
I used to really like Ventura. As a matter of fact, on Coast to Coast AM, I said, you know what? In a world of sniveling little weenies, you are a man. And I admire that, Well...
And you had him on Caravan to Midnight afterward, didn't you? I believe I saw that episode, yeah.
This is the one where he tells me that he thinks the border should be open. He thinks pot should be legalized coast to coast. Now, this is a Navy SEAL who was never deployed, never fired a shot at anybody that I know of, never had a shot fired at him. but was just convinced that there should have been a trial in Ferguson. I said, you got the Justice Department Holder himself down in Ferguson trying to find any excuse whatsoever to get an indictment, and he couldn't do it. And you still think there should be a trial. If you can't get a grand jury indictment, how exactly do you have a trial? And he just acted like some butthurt baby, and it didn't really end well. It's like, okay, that's fine, pal. Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's like, well, I thought that's what you came on the program to talk about. So if you think that I'm just going to, oh, well, you're Jesse Ventura, a wrestler who became a governor in Minafreakin-Soda. Okay, fine.
Well, John, the name of my program is called Agree to Disagree. I have a lot of people on that say a lot of different things. Some of it I'm in tune with, some of it not so much. But you go through the program and you have a good time with it. At least I do. I know I'm not going to agree with everybody 100% of the time, and I could care less. I couldn't really concern myself with any of that, because if I shut myself out, I love kind of getting in, not an ambush conversation, but when you're surprised that you're having a disagreement on an issue and you decide to have a civil conversation about it. I find it it's very fun if you have the right participant to play the game. You know, some people take it too personal and then get angry about it. And if I try to get into those, I try to detach the emotion a little bit. But you were saying something about language with Jesse Ventura, I think is where that was headed.
Well, I was going to use the term butthurt, and I did. But it's only because I feel real comfortable talking with you about that, because you said alpha hole a while ago, so I thought, yeah, okay, gloves are off, fine.
Yeah, you know, and I actually debated there, should I say butthole or should I say, you know what, the phrase that I know it has a cadence to it. It has a Shakespearean type quality. Yes, I just related
yeah, you know, I worry
to
sometimes that, you know how when you're reading an article, it's beautifully written and all of that, and then all of a sudden you see a glaring typographical error and you just go, wow. Like it or not, it just prejudices all of the content that you just read.
I actually just proofread one the other day. Someone sent something, and I just typed your in your. Y-O-U apostrophe, you know. No, you needed the apostrophe here. Yep, I do. I absolutely do.
Yeah,
and that's go ahead.
Sometimes people will say, to you and yours, and they put an apostrophe S.
That's number you know, I feel like we should have an entire session where we correct like the colloquialisms, the phrases and the misspelling and the misused. But that's actually, John, it's interesting because that's one of the biggest problems people have with Donald Trump is that he says things that are off-putting. He's so, like you said, he's so emotional, he's easy to read. You know, some people are kind of turned off by that because he can take it a little too far. Same kind of concept. Are you concerned about that at all?
No, because I think that Donald is smart enough to know that he has to appeal to a broad range of people, and it's going to be the so-called flyover people. It's not going to be the elites that are going to be doing all of the voting, the majority of the voting. It's going to be regular people who talk like that. But I suspect that Donald is extraordinarily calm, composed, and very, very laser beam focused when he is sitting in negotiations over an important deal. I don't think you're going to see any bluster or anything else. He's probably the nicest guy in the world. I suspect that his demeanor when he is not in the public eye is far different than it is when he is in the public eye. I think that what we're seeing is some Donald Trump his idea of showmanship, but I suspect that he is a very quiet, very considered individual when it comes to negotiating any issues of any measurable moment. And so, yeah.
I was listening to something.
I think he's the best chance we have, man. Otherwise, it's just going to be business as usual. It's going to be the same. You're going to slog through another 4 years of just mediocre. You know, with all these thousands and millions of illegals coming in here. They don't need to be here. Oh, you don't like Mexicans. It's like, I don't care if they're Samoans. I don't care who they are. Quit flooding across the border. And he's right. There are rapists and murderers. I mean, Mexico's doing the same thing. Do you think they're exporting their best people here? No. They're exporting people that have nothing but need and criminal records.
Well, isn't that what was the movie about in Cuba? Say hello to my little friend. Why am I drawing a blank? Scarface.
Oh, Scarface. Yeah,
Scarface. Wasn't that what they were doing in Cuba? They were sending out people to really mess up Florida, criminals,
they were getting rid of all their criminals.
Yeah, and what happened with Australia? How was that populated? I believe that
it
was
was populated
prisoners.
by people who were in prison for various things, but they weren't all violent criminals, of course. Could have been anything.
And of course, to say this, it doesn't mean like, hey, everybody that's crossed the border illegally and stayed here is a horrible person. No, that's ridiculous. Nobody's saying that. But it's like, if there's one Kate Steinle that's murdered by an illegal that's been booted out, what, 3, 4, 5 different times? That person shouldn't have been here. That murder shouldn't have been committed. It should have never happened. We kind of need more jobs in this country. It would help if you had less people fighting for those fewer jobs as more and more gets automated. It just makes sense. If you're going to try to give away free health care to everybody, you should maybe turn off the water before you start flooding the sink in your kitchen. And that's kind of the situation
Barack Obama
we're
wants
in.
to destroy this country. He's done nothing for race relations. He's done nothing for black people but give them a phone, and even that had strings attached to it, which you never hear about. Even the woman who was going, hey, everybody get an Obama phone and all of that, she came on Alex Jones's show and just said, I wouldn't vote for him again. He's a complete disappointment.
It's incredible.
You
said he did nothing for race relations.
He cuts off the black people,
Nothing
gives
good.
them nothing,
Mm-hmm.
gives them nothing. Then he brings in all these illegals, and 17% of the jobs in this country that don't require skilled or specialized skills, unskilled labor, 17% are occupied by illegals.
Jeez.
Not immigrants, illegals.
And you look at the unemployment rate in inner cities for high school kids and early, late teens, early 20s. Yeah, the unemployment rate is huge. Why in the world would anyone, if they were looking out for the best interest of those people, why would you flood the workplace with very cheap labor if you wanted to help those people get a leg up?
When you look at all these people like Capone and Legs Diamond, Bugsy Siegel, Machine Gun Kelly, Alvin Karpowitz was his full name, Clyde Barrow, Bonnie Parker, Ma Barker and her gang. The reason that this happened is because they were in the throes of the Depression. Where $1 in your pocket practically made you rich. A depression is a real bad scene. The money is worth something, but the problem is nobody has any. I mean, my dad, when he was a kid, had a really high-paying job. The flyback paddles, a little paddle with the rubbery string on it and a rubber ball on the end and just bounce it.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure they make them anymore.
Yeah.
He made $0.25 a day working a 12-hour shift.
Whew. That quarter is probably made of silver, but still.
Yeah, it was, and you could buy a lot of stuff with $1.25 at the end of the week.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. That's what drove these people. They weren't. I mean, some of them were psychopaths, like Capone, but most of that robbery stuff was because people were so damn poor they had no choice. They had no choice, and that's the same things you got going on in the inner city. These people have no choice. There's nothing to sell except drugs. Or this woman over here who will prostitute herself for money. There's nothing. These people have nothing. So who's helping them? Nobody. And then some kid gets shot in the street, and then some dumbass cop, makes it worse by hosing that kid down the middle of the street with 16 rounds. Really, you need to shoot him 16 times, do you? One's not enough. You didn't make it to the range often enough to be able to just do it with one or two. You got to empty your whole magazine of this kid. It was just a sadistic murder is all it was. But you got those morons out there. Let's keep in mind, there are people who join the military and who join the police department as a means of finding a legal way to kill people, and they do. Now, they're in a very, very tiny, tiny percentile, but they exist.
But if sociopaths seek out political office, why wouldn't they also seek out the one legal place where you could go kill people for real?
Bingo.
I mean,
you just nailed it.
And that's not to take a knock at military. It's just, I think Kokesh said the same damn thing about that too. It's just par for the course. When you talk about pedophilia in the priesthood, well, it's kind of a perfect cover if you really think this one through. It's not to say everybody's bad. It's just to say, hey, certain places will attract certain things. And frankly, I think Trump's very right when he talks about the fact that we're getting screwed on every deal that we make, and it's attracting the wrong type of person to want to come into this country. Not someone ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. It's absolutely backward now. And the Democrat Party has just convinced a generation, if not multiple generations of people that, hey, the system's rigged against you. We got to give you free stuff, otherwise there's no way you can survive. And that is the absolutely wrong and worst message that I think anybody could send another human being, to thwart their drive, their motivation, their skill set, and to just push mediocrity for power and control. It's sick. It's saddening to me.
Yeah, it is. It's completely sick and saddening. And I mean, these people are alive. They're in the world, and they deserve a little bit of consideration. But they're not getting any, and they're not getting any from their great leader. I mean, this president is bad news, man. This guy is really, really bad news. He wants to destroy this country.
And replace it with what? It's the Cloward and Piven model, and to just replace it with Marxism, with communism is... I mean, does he even have the ability to choose what the agenda is, or he's just a part of it? I'm trying to think here, because he is a puppet, but he's still also the president.
He does have a great deal of power, but there are people around him who also have a great deal of power. So it's a little bit of both. He's being run by somebody, but
George Soros, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely.
Valerie Jarrett.
Yeah. What's Huma doing hanging around there?
Oh yeah, Huma's very close. Very close. She's the right-hand person for Miss Clinton.
Yeah, it's just all too much. But is it possible that something ugly could have gotten across the border? Going back to your question earlier.
The pack of Marlboros and the tiny nuclear device.
Yeah, something like that. Just enough to make a real problem, or some sort of little dirty bomb, something like that.
San Bernardino was a warm-up. We all saw that.
Yeah, and now they're saying those three tall, white, athletically built guys in black, SWAT style gear with the 6 magazine packs and all that stuff, and assault rifles that came in and started shooting, and it's crazy. So here's the thing: we must keep this in mind at all times. Disinformation is a very, very valuable and strategic tool. It's a very, very effective weapon. And so whenever people see this infighting that seems to be going on between people in the alternative media, and you see all these outrageous stories circulating around, keep in mind that, we've got one guy that I'll just say this, we got one guy that used to work for us that we let go. And he's made the rounds to a couple of different outfits already, which makes me wonder, because he doesn't stay with any of them very long.
Ah, okay.
It makes me wonder if he isn't
a mole? A professional mole?
Well, just somebody that's trying to cause problems.
Oh,
so all this flat earth nonsense, it's like people are... You should give all truths a chance. They're hiding. I'm sorry about all that noise in the background. It's just unavoidable. They're keeping it from us. It's incontrovertible truth. It's like, bleep off. I'm not even gonna pollute the program by even discussing such a ridiculous concept. These are the same people who don't understand that in the northern hemisphere, low-pressure systems which form storms rotate counterclockwise, always. In the southern hemisphere, they rotate clockwise. There are no storms around the equator because of the Coriolis effect. They don't understand that either. You've been programmed to see the curvature of the earth. It's like, quit smoking that dope. It's turning you into a total dumbass. And what they try and do is they try and get various outfits to... entertain these ridiculous ideas, and it's just a chipping away at their credibility.
Yes, to bring the credibility down. Exactly.
I'm not doing it, and I don't go on very many programs. I don't want to hitch my wagon to anybody else's ponies, and I don't want anybody hitching their wagon to my ponies. Everybody just do your own thing. Keep your fences. I don't mind coming on with you at all because, you're a straight shooter and you don't have an agenda. You're not a over the top capitalist that's either trying to sell, an elixir that'll cure your erectile dysfunction or, bikini underwear or something. You're not always trying to sell something. And
well, we've been doing this for how many years, John? 3 years? 4 years at this point?
No, it's more than that, pal.
Yeah, we're ready to celebrate our 5th anniversary here coming up in a couple months. So
I was thinking it was getting close to 5. Yeah,
it probably is because this is way back in your Coast days, and but that's the beauty of this when you can find someone that's doing their thing, and they're not making everybody else look bad with their lowest moments. And I'm not going to use any names either, but
I think we all know who we're talking about.
Well, there's actually quite a few. You can look at any of these cats, and it's a lot like politics. I was telling Larry Elder and Laura Eisenhower the same conversation about politics. I said, if we could do a Build-A-Bear candidate or like a Mr. Potato Head candidate, where it's like, all right, I'll put these ears on, and then I'll put these glasses on. It's like a lot of people bring something really good to the table, but I don't really care for much of the rest of them. If you could have like Ted Cruz's constitutional experience with Donald Trump's no strings attached ability, Carly Fiorina's presentation, rehearsal, and knowledge of the craft. If you could put some of these people together and get the best person possible, that would be one thing. But until we can do that in a factory like an Ex Machina and build like the perfect cybernetic robot that passes the artificial intelligence test where you can't distinguish them from a human, I think especially in the liberty movement, I think if they bring a couple of redeeming qualities to the table and they're not completely crazy, I try to avoid the little back and forths between all these cats because, hey, I got plenty of stuff working against me. Everybody does. Nobody's going to agree on everything all of the time. But I think if you put the liberty movement together, there's a lot of people doing a lot of great things. And
yes, they are. And we got to police ourselves. And that's just how it is. So everybody just needs to run a tight ship and try and avoid speculation. Don't be throwing out, sensational stuff just for the attention grabbing thing because look 2 or 3 moves into the game and realize if you do this and then you're found out to be wrong, it's going to look like exactly what it was. It was an attempt to get attention.
The boy who cried wolf. And then
it's sort of like the cops. They've got to police their own. There's nobody that knows about a dirty cop more than another cop. So people have to be prepared to be that Serpico and go, look, I can't do this.
Well, you got to, I wanted to ask you about this, John. You got a team of people that are policing general areas, but that general area happens to be most of the Southwest. The Bureau of Land Management is getting into some stuff, and there's another show down there in Oregon. I was checking out your site. It looks like you had, Ryan Bundy? You had a conversation there. Can you explain what's going on in Oregon for us?
Yeah, it's just another federal land grab, and that was not a very well coordinated demonstration. I haven't heard a peep out of anybody. There's this little gal named Chris Ann Hall. You need to check her out. She's a staunch constitutionalist. She's a disabled vet, and she's a great little gal. And she was on her way up there to check it out for herself. She came on the Caravan to Midnight, and we had a nice long talk. And the thing is that this is in fact severe government overreach. They are not entitled to own anything outside that 10 square miles that makes up Washington, D.C., and a few other little things that do not constitute all these huge swaths of land. They are not entitled to own 86% of the entire real estate that makes up the state of Nevada. They're not entitled to this at all under the Constitution. That's why they want to get rid of the Constitution. And if listen, if you get rid of that Constitution, then we're well and truly screwed. And everybody better understand that. And you may not like guns. That's fine. But I'll tell you what, it's better to have one and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what is the most effective argument you found talking to somebody about gun control? What is the most effective, when you ask them, or phrase, if you say, hey, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Or, hey, police clean crime scenes, guns, stop a murder. Have you found anything that speaks any common sense to people that are kind of lost on individual liberty of the Second Amendment?
Well, it's too macho for some to say when seconds count, the police are only minutes away. It just sounds too macho, like, I'll just, like Richard Pryor, I'm macho man, I'll take that knife and stick it up your, you know what I mean? That thing, that little deal that he did.
Yeah.
But that's not it. The thing is that there are people out there who do not care about the law. They do not care who gets hurt. The more people that get hurt, for some of them, the better they like it. They're sadists. They're psychopaths. They're criminals. If you don't want to be victimized by these people, and when you're in a concentrated population, the odds of running into those types of people increase. So, make a choice. I mean, there was a philosophy professor who said one time that he would rather die than have to live with a gun in his house. You can't argue with people like that.
No.
That's their story, and they're sticking to it. But the thing is,
I mean, you can ride in a car without a seatbelt if you want to. I mean, I guess, if you want to.
I'll tell you a quick story. And I appreciate you giving me this much time. When the Rodney King verdict was released, or was about to be released, an automated message from the Dallas Police Department, I lived in the historic district at the time, and what you have are all these restored turn-of-the-century houses surrounded by areas of guns and knives. And the automated message said that in anticipation of the Rodney King verdict, the Dallas Police Department advises persons in the following neighborhoods to avoid mixed neighborhoods and just kind of stay at home and just stay out of sight for a little while because they're anticipating the distinct possibility of some unrest. Now, up to that point, I had been the bad guy because I had firearms. Of course, I don't have any now, Brian, not any.
None.
Except
not
a tiny little Derringer, that's all.
Not
BBs.
Not a single thing, everybody. There's no
I only
reason.
have one little gun that hurts people's feelings. That's all it does.
You have a microaggression gun. It's like a mini gun.
That's right. It's a microaggression gun.
Exactly.
It shames people into submission.
You destroy people with words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Well, this fella calls up, and he's in tears, literally. And he's worried for his family. He's worried about all this. He just got the message, wanted to know if he could come over to my house. And I said, Sam, I told you to get a shotgun or something, didn't I? Well, yeah. I said, yeah, of course you can come over. But just remember what we talked about. Well, he didn't come over, and there was no unrest, except downtown they acted like a bunch of idiots, and virtually all of them were black. It's just the way it's just the way it was. If that's racist, well, okay, guilty. I got eyes. So the next thing I know, Sam has bought an HK-91 rifle and this great Mossberg 12 gauge and a couple of pistols, and that was it. See, when you realize that the savages are about to come over the wall and kill you, you'll get over your gun phobia real quick. But until that happens, I mean, look at that phony deal out at Santa Barbara where these kids are supposed to have been shot up out there. Who knows if that was even real? They got the father on there going, it's craven politicians in the NRA, stop the madness now. I mean, he sounded like some wanker of a cheerleader or something. I never saw such a staged, phony speech in my life. This deal at Sandy Hook, we're assembling a documentary right now. We're just waiting to add the end. We're fixing to hand a bunch of people their backsides and their heads, because that's a totally phony, completely staged operation.
What about the guy? Actually, I talked with you about it on Coast to Coast when I came on. I forget which time I was on Coast with you, but Robbie Parker. Remember Robbie Parker giving his speech, and he takes 3 deep breaths after he notices,
what a phony.
Oh crap, the cameras are on me, and he does the typical acting thing where you take a few deep breaths to get into character, and his huge wide-eyed smile laughing at a joke going, oh crap, the cameras, 3 deep breaths, and then, My name is Robbie Parker. And I'm sorry, maybe he was there, maybe he did have kids, I don't know, but I've
No,
never
he's a
seen
phony, dude.
anything more phony in my lifetime.
Well, it's completely phony. Sometime take a look at. Sorry about all this coughing, man. I'll tell you, the weather is so up and down here. It's just like
What is it right
like
now?
having a gorilla sit on your face, you know.
Is it rainy? Is it cold? What are you going through here?
Well, let's see. A week ago Saturday, it got really kind of cold, and I was out in a little bit too long. So all last week, I had this roaring head cold, complete with this cough. It's like somebody dumped a jar of rubber cement in your lungs.
Yeah.
And it's taken about a week to get over it. I mean, it wasn't any fever or anything, but it's just, you know, it rains, and people think that when it rains, it washes all the allergens out of the air. Wrong. It sets all of the foliage off, and it all starts spewing out, you know, pollen and other weirdness like you wouldn't believe. And then, of course, there's a certain amount of, you know, fungus and spores and this and that, and you're breathing all of this. I mean, this is why Mr. Hughes never came back to Texas. You know, bad air. It's pretty rough. I mean, the allergens factor is pretty high here. But anyway, sorry about that coughing, because this is a VoIP phone, and it amplifies everything you do, like right off the chart. So I apologize for that, sir.
No, none of that at all. I mean, out here in Los Angeles, I mean, we've been in a drought for how many years? And, you know, it's been raining a little bit now, and, you know, you just... It's interesting just trying to grow a little bit more food off the grid, trying to make little steps to become a little more self-reliant, a little more self-sustainable, where you can have some water, you can have some food, you can just, like you said, you know, there's a higher proportion, a higher likelihood that weird or bad things are going to happen if you live in dense areas. You know, and I just wonder, you know, we saw the stock market going crazy at the beginning of the year. I had Gerald Celente on Friday, and you know, you just wonder how much time is left before they actually click the domino for real this time and set all of it in motion. I'm wondering if we're getting close to it.
Yeah, it's in motion now. I love Gerald Celente. He's such a real guy. He's just a man's man. He's a rational thinker. He's just a bright individual. I really like him.
Same here.
No, it's already rolling now, man. This was a dead cat bounce, they call it today, because Monday everything was in the red. Friday everything was in the red. You know, I had this massive loss. It went down under 16,000 again today, and so it's already started to roll. They can't. It's unsustainable. You know, they cannot sustain this. They have no choice but to pump more money into the system. If they do that, that's going to cause damage. If they don't pump money into the system, that's going to cause damage. It's like they have reached end game with this. I mean, we talked to everybody. We talked to Andy Hoffman. We talked to Chuck Coppice. We talked to Harry Dent. We talked to all of these people. And the one thing they all agree on, I mean, Harry Dent may say gold is not going to save you. It's going to go lower in value. Hoffman doesn't think so. But one thing these guys do agree on is that the fiat currency-based economy is over with. It's in a coma. It's not good. I mean, trillions of dollars vanished last Friday. And how they're going to make that up, I don't know.
Yeah, I called it. I was talking on Friday, and I said that it was like Weekend at Bernie's. You know, the economy's dead, put some sunglasses and a funny Hawaiian shirt, have them waving at the pretty girls, and you're just walking around with your dead boss. Like, it's done. It's propped up. It's artificially propped up, but sooner or later it's going to stink so bad you can't help but pay attention to it, you know, and it just comes down to how many people have put themselves in a good position versus allowed themselves to end up in a bad position, because when this hits bad, I don't know if it's going to be a recession, a depression, I don't know if there's going to be some sort of civil war spark with a Ferguson or a Baltimore or a Bundy Ranch or what have you, but I just, at what point is it going to converge and they just go, hell with it, flip the switch, let it happen? And it's like a video game at that point.
Yeah, it's strange because we may even be facing a situation where you have deflation in some sectors and inflation in others happening simultaneously, which would make for a really weird financial cocktail, if you will. And there's really no telling what the outcome would be. Everybody was, China can just hold on to it forever. You should get your children to learn how to speak Mandarin. It's like, I don't think so. because their ego is on fire. They think they can rule the world, and they haven't been at this fiat currency game as long as we have. Our criminals are definitely going to outsmart their criminals. And that's exactly what's happening. China's overbuilt everything. They got too much stuff. Japan, the Japanese, yeah. Well, their economy is ruined. It's ruined. And they got Fukushima on top of it. So here's the thing.
No, thank you about that, because I had to get my regular Fukushima update. I think you had Arnie Gunderson on recently again. What is the latest at Fukushima? Because it's been rolling up on the shores of California for years now.
Dude, the ocean's dying. The squids are dying. 10,000 dead squids, no sardines, dead sea lions up and down, dead birds, melting starfish. It's continued unabated. Their ice wall, if they really built it, failed. So they might as well have not built it. They say they did, but an ice wall is going to contain the radioactive water. It's an ongoing disaster. It ain't going to get any better. It's not going to get any better. It's killing the ocean, period. And some dumbass like Nancy Pelosi comes on and says, well, a certain amount of ionizing radiation is good for you. Wrong. No ionizing radiation is good for you. All ionizing radiation is bad for you. But all you have to do is just go to ENE News, enenews.com, and you can read the latest horror. There's a new horror at least once a week, sometimes more often than that.
Man, these are brought to you from the same people that said duck and cover if there's a nuclear blast, right?
These people don't know what they're doing, man. They don't look far enough into the game to see what's happening. It's just like, well, these nuclear reactor structures are meant to last 30 years. Okay, we'll deal with it then, but they don't get around to dealing with it. They don't get around to replacing them. They don't know what they're doing. They put 6,000 cubic meters of nuclear waste every year just into the whip site out in New Mexico. Well, how long can that go on? But it's all about money, all about money. As long as money drives everything, we got a problem. So this is what I would say to people in parting. And thank you for this much time on your program.
Absolutely, thank you.
You can't cure other people's problems. You can only look out for yourself. If you do what is best for you, you will be doing what is best for everybody else. Put your own oxygen mask on first, and then assist the child and the old people and all of that. Because if you don't put yours on first, we're going to lose all of you. Get your faith in order. Meditate. I like to call it prayer. Listen. Read your Bible. It will not take you very long to read the entire New Testament. You look at tens of thousands of words every day. If you do what we do, going all over the net, looking at the stuff, reading all this stuff, and yet the Bible is probably the least read book in your entire collection. Read it. Read what it says. What it says is exactly what's playing out now. And people will say, oh, you could say that at any point in history. No, you couldn't either. You need to read this stuff. You need to read about the king of the north and the king of the south and these things that are happening in Israel and this and that and the other while some are out there yelling, it's the Jews, it's the Jews. These people don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about. Find your truth. Separate yourself from the herd and the herd mentality. Be the individual that you are entitled to be. Put your allegiance where it belongs, with your Creator. Do not lean on your own understanding. You ain't got the crust to be able to do that. And do not put your faith in other people. Put your faith in your Creator. And you'll be well on your way to getting through this. Because somebody's got to get through this. Somebody's got to live. Because if that doesn't happen, what was it all for? Now, if you don't care about the civilization, if you don't care about humanity, you don't care about your children, your wife, your husband, your sister, your brother, your parents, whatever. If you don't care about those things, then you might want to look at that too and ask yourself, why don't you care? But if you do, just understand this. The party's over. Your government has been revealed to be nothing but a corrupt engine of money and nothing more. They lie, they murder, however many it takes. They're friends with this one over here, and then they're not friends. And all of a sudden, these people just die. It all comes from the big money guys. The big money guys are the ones that pull the strings on all of this. That whole deal about give me control of the money, and I care not of any country,
Right.
and I care not who makes its laws. That's Rothschild. He was serious then, and what he says, or what he said, is exactly what you're seeing being played out now. So the thing to remember is, the party's over. We're going to have to clean up now, and that's going to require every individual to be an individual, to think for yourself, and once you're satisfied, then you're in a position where you can help other people. But in the meantime, don't be a parrot. Don't repeat what other people say. Think for yourself, because a person who doesn't think for themselves does not really think at all.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we've always appreciated about the work that you've done when we were first exposed, perhaps on Coast to Coast, and now on Caravan to Midnight. Why don't you let people know on our way out the door here what you've been up to, some of the things we didn't get a chance to discuss on the program, and tell them about what you have coming up in the future, how they link up with you, and become a caravanner.
Well, it's real easy. Just go to caravantomidnight.com. We have a link down there on the homepage that you can click over and go to our YouTube channel and see some content for free. It is probably the most undervalued program out there, considering the content. And I say that in all deference to yourself, Brian.
Yeah, my
really
cost is free, except for a little bit of commercial occasionally from YouTube. But no, you've always done professional, solid, knock down, drag them out. You've done good stuff, and that's I think talent finds talent, and you've been doing good stuff since you've been on the scene. And I know that the success of your program and all of the kind words that people speak about you in the community. You're a known product. You're a known entity that a lot of people trust to give you the straight information as they're finding it, and to not sugarcoat it, just pull it back and give you some insight. I mean, that's what you've been up to over there, and the success you've been having is just a testament to the fact that you haven't burned out your track record by crying wolf too many times. And I think that is the largest currency in social media these days, in the new alternative media, or the new American media, as it were. It's your currency. It's your reputation. If you're crying wolf all the time, and it's just, that takes away from what people are up to. But when you're giving it like it is, people tend to notice that. So, all right, I guess everybody go to caravantomidnight.com and take a look, sign up, link up. You still have the store over there too, right? You were talking Fukushima. You still have some stuff over there?
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff in there. I mean, it's just everything from from products for health to heirloom seeds to all kinds of stuff. And we don't insert commercials into our program. I mean, I think we did it at one time, like maybe when some music's playing, we'll show some stuff, but that's about it. It's not a continual interruption. We get on there and we have these uninterrupted conversations. We take a break about every hour, but there are over 450 shows in there now, and it's $60 a year with people like, everybody from Ray McGovern to Ted Nugent, William Binney, John Whitehead with Rutherford.org. So many people I can't even remember. We've had all kinds of people on there, the Jerome Corsis and the Gerald Celentes of the world, and there ain't very many of them.
Right.
But we try and get them all, and we bring on new people, all the time. And we're always looking for people who have something of value to bring to the party. It's not just about we got to take a break now, because just as the guy's about to tell you what the meaning of life is, right? We don't do that.
And then you come back from the break and you forget the train of thought, and you didn't take a note to begin it where you left off, and you're like, oh, come on, I was waiting for the answer to that one. I hate that. I hate that.
I mean, when you consider if you divide 450 shows into $60 for a year, and you can get in for 15 for a quarter, for 3 months, 30 for 6, 60 for the year, and that's just what's in archive. I mean, it is an extraordinarily good value, and I think people will find great value in it, because these are the long conversations by the Caravan crew. We just want to be of service. It's not a dodge. It's not a scam. It's not a money engine. It's just we got to get it said now while we still can, because if the internet goes down, I'll tell you a quick story and then I'll bail, okay?
Sure.
I was listening to Dallas radio the other day, and I heard Art Bell come on at midnight on 570. Well, right across the dial on 1190, I'm hearing George Norrie. And this was just the other day. And I'm thinking, wow, that's weird.
You sure you're not a shadow person or a time traveler and you stepped through like a different dimension or space-time continuum?
I'm pretty sure, but it gets even more ridiculous, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm listening to this. 1190 used to be KLIF back in the old days, but 570, which used to be WFAA AM, bought those call letters, so now 570 is known as KLIF, and 1190 is known as like KFXR, right? It's a Clear Channel deal, right? Or iHeartMedia now.
Right.
Same crew, different name, after $21 billion in debt and dumping it, I think, mostly to Bain Capital. Now, 570 is a Cumulus station. So I hear Art Bell on our Cumulus station 570, some reruns, because he's not making any new programs. He quit again, right?
Yeah, he was back recently, and then he unbacked the back where he backed into... Yeah, he came back, and then he backed out again. It's hard to follow. It's hard to follow.
3 months. He was on for 3 months when he was on Sirius, and then he came back, and he did 5.5 months on this, and now he's gone again. So he's on 570. Norrie's on 1190. And I repeat, the station that Norrie's on is, let's just say Clear Channel, even though it's iHeartMedia now. Same company. Different name, same company.
Mm-hmm.
And Bell's over on a Cumulus station. So what do I hear yesterday? Hi, this is George Norrie. I'm coming back to our Dallas radio home, 570 KLIF. So what is a Premier / iHeartMedia product doing on a Cumulus station? The answer is they're all part of the same apparatus. I noticed this when I was doing a lot of liners for a lot of radio stations. You know, I would get payments from many corporations. Then I noticed all these payments for the same stations were coming from the same company. That's when Clear Channel was buying everything. But even the ones that were still with other broadcasting companies that were not Clear Channel, that had not been bought by Clear Channel, I noticed that any time that anybody was late, they were all late on the same months. Whether it was a Clear Channel station or whether it was an XYZ station. They were all late on the same months, which told me, even back then, and we're talking a few years, like almost 10, that it's all coming out of the same bank.
Uh-huh.
It's all coming out of the same money pot. Might even be different banks, but it's the same money pot. It's the same guys pulling the strings.
Well, they say there's 6 corporations that control like not more than 90% of what you see, whether it's radio or television, what you hear.
Yeah.
It's that tight.
I mean, wouldn't you think that a guy that was pulling the kind of numbers I was pulling on a weekend night, let alone during the week, but on a weekend night, wouldn't you think somebody would go, say, we could probably do all right with this guy. Let's get him a full-time gig. Those guys don't want me anywhere near general access media, and it's because of what we talk about. And that's the reason you want to join Caravan to Midnight. For the same reason that people listen to your show. You let them have it. You tell them the truth. And the difference, of course, is that ours is a video presentation as well.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's some added value there, and we don't have advertisers. You know, we don't have sponsors. That way nobody can get mad at us and say, we didn't like the person you interviewed, so we're pulling our advertising. It's like, well, there isn't any advertising to pull.
Well,
we rely on our members.
It's
and,
the
we're
new way of
about
communication.
150 countries now, so it's working well.
Oh, nice. No, that's a new way of communication. It's micro-lending. It's micro-financing. It's the Netflix model. It's the HBO model. You find the thing you like, you buy the Major League Baseball sports package, and you have access to all the games on all your devices. That's the way this is turning. In cable, they are cutting the cord across the country, and because there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for this. And that was the thing I always noticed about you on Coast was you could always tell, John, when you were measuring your words extra carefully. And I always liked when you came on this show because you let it rip just a little bit more. And now it's got to be really freeing to have the shackles off your ankles and your wrists, and you can just let it rip however you want to, and there's no boss that's going to be whispering in your ear, "Excuse me, can you talk to me in the office after you're done with the show? I got a bit of an issue with something."
Yeah, but I know what lunch is going to be about next week, right? That thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing that's the real juice for me, Brian, and that is that people are finding value. If we're not of service, if we are not of value to people, if it's just mind candy, then I'm just not interested. I'll go do something else. But
that's capitalism.
Because if you do that, you're just another one.
Mm-hmm.
You're just in it for a paycheck, and I'm not doing that. I'm just not. I've been down the road too far to go that route. I'm not doing it.
But that's
I'd rather
capitalism.
just put on a one-piece Mr. Natural suit and wander around, uttering witticisms to people. Hopefully not witterings, just witticisms. That would be better.
Well, people vote with their dollars these days, and they're finding you over at Caravan to Midnight. I can't recommend any more highly than I already do that people go check you out and what you're up to there. CaravanToMidnight.com. John, it's always a pleasure having you on the program, buddy. We'll have to do this again. Not sure when. I'm sure when something enormous comes up. I know we did that big show when the plane was missing, and we'll do a few more of these, I suggest, on our run-up to the 2016 election. I know you gave us our final shot a second ago about how we need to get ready, get right with our moral compass and our spirituality, and get as fit financially and physically as we possibly can. Is there any other final word for everybody out there on your way out the door, sir?
Just may God bless you all, and we'll see you.
All right, John, thanks again for your time. CaravanToMidnight.com, everybody. Go check it out. Take care. We'll talk again soon. There he goes, everyone. John B. Wells, one of our favorite people in alternative media. Extra thanks to his team for setting this up again, as gracious as they are always. I want you to check out our show. Like I said, a lot of interesting guests we've had so far this year, and a lot more coming up in 2016 moving forward. We have ramped things up over here, and we are moving faster than ever because, hey, as long as we have the internet, we better use it, because in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So I recommend that we all take a little bit of time to seek truth, challenge dogma, and have fun. So my name's Brian Engelman. I want to thank you for listening. Check out youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Please click subscribe. Go to thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side is the TNAM radio button. We go live when we decide to go live, when it's convenient for our guests. So we'll tweet that out at American_media_ along with a lot of other great things. And some of the best content I think we do is on Facebook. So go to facebook.com. Well, I don't know if it's the /. Just do a search for The New American Media. So we hope that you stick around with us. We do another show called The Unhappy Hour. It's a sports show. We cover conventions. We get into music. We get into spirituality and metaphysics. Hey, we get into a lot of different stuff. So hopefully you can check out our archive. Look around. Join the conversation. Leave your comments and questions, and we'll go from there. So signing out from Los Angeles, California, I'm Brian Engelman. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll talk again soon. Peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the newamericanmedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. You know, there are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed, because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets, come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.